Hi everyone, welcome back to GeoCurrent. Today, we're examining an uncomfortable place where political theater collides with industrial reality. As we move closer to the 2026 primary season, the headlines have grown louder and more crowded. New mineral agreements with Southeast Asian countries, Brazil, Japan, and South Korea, naval activity in the Caribbean, infrastructure pushes across Africa. To a casual observer, it looks decisive, it looks strategic, it feels like the United States is finally taking control. But in geopolitics, appearances can be deceiving, and the most important distinction is not between allies and rivals, it's between narrative management and actual industrial capacity. Here's the core tension. A signature on paper can win a news cycle overnight. Building a heavy rare earth refinery can take a decade. One is fast, visible, and reassuring to voters. The other is slow, expensive, and politically inconvenient. Today, we're looking at why the current strategy may be aimed less at factories and more at the electorate. This is the refining trap. Act 1. The shovel mirage. To understand the recent surge in MOUs, Memoranda of Understandings, we need to look at one overlooked variable, the calendar. In late 2025, the administration finalized mineral deals with Australia, Thailand, and Malaysia. They were framed as historic steps toward independence. On a campaign slide, they're perfect. New countries, new supply lines, new dots on the map. To voters, it signals momentum. It suggests progress. But politics and industry operate on different clocks. A politician works on a 2-year cycle. They need something concrete and visible before the next primary. Signing a mining agreement takes an afternoon. It produces immediate optical proof of action. Industry doesn't move that way. Extracting minerals from the ground is only the first step, and it's the easiest one. The real leverage sits in the middle of the supply chain, where raw ore is refined into usable material. This is the choke point, and today, China controls nearly 99% of global heavy rare earth refining capacity. You can locate minerals in the Australian outback or the hills of Southeast Asia, but without domestic smelters, those minerals remain expensive dirt. They still have to pass through Chinese processing facilities to become magnets, motors, or components. And here's the political problem. Refineries are chemical-intensive, capital-heavy, and controversial. They take 7 to 10 years to permit and build. They face environmental resistance. They don't fit neatly into an election cycle. For a candidate facing voters in months, not years, a refinery is a liability, not a headline. So the incentive shifts. Mining deals are photogenic. Signing ceremonies are clean. They send a message of strength to the electorate without forcing a conversation about rebuilding domestic industry. The result is a strategy optimized for short-term perception, not long-term control. In resource security, shovels without smelters are just rocks with paperwork. Act 2. The math of domestic demand. Now let's shift perspective. While Western leaders focus on optics, something very different is happening in Asia. The popular narrative is that China is weaponizing minerals to pressure the West. That framing is convenient but incomplete. The industrial math tells a deeper story. China is in the middle of the largest industrial expansion in modern history. It is the world's biggest electric vehicle market. It is building power grids, renewables, and advanced manufacturing at an unprecedented scale. These systems are material hungry, and increasingly they are consuming what China once exported. In 2025, Beijing introduced export controls on several critical materials. Headlines framed it as confrontation, but from a realist perspective, it looks more like prioritization. When domestic factories are running at full capacity, exports become secondary. You feed your own industry first. Here's the contrast. In the West, leaders chase mining deals to calm voter anxiety. In China, planners consolidate supply to support industrial demand. One side is focused on the next election, the other is focused on the next decade. Export restrictions aren't necessarily escalation. They may simply signal that surplus no longer exists. And if one side is managing inventory while the other is managing headlines, the gap in real power widens quietly and steadily. Time itself becomes a strategic asset, and right now it's being spent very differently. Act 3: Resource Corridors and Perception. This brings us to the most visible moves. In December 2025, a naval blockade was deployed to restrict sanctioned Venezuelan shipments. Around the same time, Washington expanded its financial backing for the Lobito Corridor in Africa. Why now? Because these actions satisfy overlapping incentives. Venezuela is officially framed as a security issue, but geographically, it sits atop the Orinoco mining arc, one of the richest untapped mineral zones in the hemisphere. A naval deployment is visually powerful. It signals toughness, it reassures voters who want decisive action, and it quietly positions the U.S. closer to future resource access. The Lobito Railway plays a similar role. It challenges 2 decades of Chinese infrastructure dominance and connects mineral-rich regions to the Atlantic. Financing it sends a clear message: the U.S. is competing again. For voters, it feels like momentum, like a comeback story. But here's the unresolved question: does a railway in Africa solve the refining bottleneck in Ohio or Texas? It doesn't. It secures the flow of raw material that still must largely be processed elsewhere before it becomes industrially useful. Historically, resource security narratives peak when political pressure is highest. Complex industrial problems are simplified into visible gestures. Naval deployments are easy to understand. Signed agreements are easy to celebrate. The slow, costly work of rebuilding refineries is not. It produces no immediate win, so it's deferred in favor of visible action. Conclusion: real control versus the election cycle. So where does this leave us? We are entering an era of fragmented security. The current wave of mineral deals and pressure campaigns are classic signals. They reassure voters that the U.S. is reasserting control, that it's back in the game. But the refining trap remains firmly in place. Until the U.S. invests in the difficult, expensive, and unglamorous middle of the supply chain, control stays elsewhere. Shovels are not strategy. MOUs are not capacity. Chemistry does not respond to press releases. So if these agreements don't translate into real factories in the coming years, they'll be remembered as political optics, effective for managing an election cycle, but ineffective at closing the industrial gap. In this race, some are running for the camera, others are running for the finish line. So I'll leave you with this question: are these mineral deals the foundation of a real industrial shift, or simply tactical moves in a high-stakes political season? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We read every one of them. This is GeoCurrent. We'll see you in the next one.